Take Sue and Andy with you everywhere. Download the Radio Player Canada app to listen live, even when you're not in the car.
Mornings with Sue and Andy. Talk on FM 107.3 QR Calgary.
.17 on your Tuesday, snowy Tuesday morning. Current temperature happens to be +1, still under that special weather statement. Well, you know, when you're filling your prescription at the pharmacy, do you ever worry about how secure your personal information is? Well, it certainly never occurred to me. But following the cybersecurity attack that forced the temporary closure of 80 London drugstores across Western Canada, we're asking how we can best protect our personal information from being accessed by so-called bad actors. Joining us to discuss is Lorenzo De Carli, and Lorenzo is with us from the University of Calgary, the Department of Electrical and Software Engineering. Very good morning to you, Lorenzo.
Good morning to you.
Let's break this down here. What do we know so far about the cyber attack that took place earlier this week on London Drugs?
Sure. So it's important to clarify that at this moment we don't know much. We know that London Drugs suffered some kind of security breach in their network, and that caused them to suspend their operations. Now, this could be a number of things, and oftentimes those type of incidents end up being ransomware attacks, which means someone acquires some private data from the company and now is asking for money. But it could also be other things, such as a compromise of their payment system or even just a leak of company emails. We don't know enough yet.
Okay, Lorenzo, how typically do businesses like London Drugs protect a client's personal information? So, because, I mean, obviously I would think that's one of the biggest fears, right, is did our information get compromised?
Well, oftentimes business will have measures in place in technological measures to prevent those type of things of happening, and I'm sure London Drugs will have some of those measures in place. Now, the problem is that in the long run, pretty much every company is going to be breached. At that point, it may be a while until we know exactly if any data was compromised and how much, because there is probably going to be an internal investigation. Now, if data was leaked, in general, the company will have a few choices. They may pay the cyber criminals in the hope that the data is not going to be made public, or may decide not to do so. But the problem is that once the data got out of the company, then there is not much the company can do to claw it back. So it's really end up being up to the consumers to be proactive in making sure they don't suffer from those type of leaks.
But that was my next question, Lorenzo, in the sense that we put our faith in these companies, and in the case of a pharmacy, it's not a case of, you have to choose one, but essentially, if you're in the medical system in Canada, you need a pharmacist. So what can I do as an individual other than just having my blind faith in these pharmacies?
So one thing that we can do as customers is to think long and hard about which business need to have our personal information. So if a company you don't really care about start asking things such as your credit card or other sensitive information or maybe your medical history, maybe think twice about whether you want to have an account there. Of course, for many folks, the London Drug is not an option. They need to have an account there because they need their prescription filled. So yes, the companies, again, most likely they will have some countermeasures in place to prevent those things from happening, but those things will happen. And as a customers, we can sort of monitor our financial activity, for example, to make sure that nothing looks suspicious if our data has been leaked, and keep an eye out for signs that someone may be opening online accounts in our name. Those are all possible consequences of those type of leaks. Sometimes we've seen that in the United States, actually quite often, companies will offer things like free credit monitoring to the victims of breaches. But the point is that, again, once the personal data has been leaked, there is not much that can be done to bring those data back to a secure state.
So, Lorenzo, this has happened. Moving forward, we know pharmacy staff are on site at London Drug locations to support customers with their pharmacy needs. But if it is a concern from anybody who, their info might have been leaked out, can we go in and talk to them, do you think? Is there any, I know you say there's not much you can do about it now, but can we go in and talk to them, and is there anything to sort of safeguard our info moving forward?
So I would expect that once the company themselves have a better understanding of the extent of this breach, there will be some additional communication, probably some of those direct to customers in regards of which type of data has been breached. And again, it's important to understand at this point, we don't know yet if any data was leaked again. But if any data was leaked, I think I would expect the company to eventually reach out to customers with some concrete action suggestion on how to best protect their data. They may have details about which particular data was leaked and such. And at that point, that would be the best point to then start thinking about what to do. And oftentimes the consequence of such a breach is someone will try to impersonate you online in phishing attack or such. And again, then it will be important for victims of such breaches to, again, monitor their financial activity, make sure no one is trying to open a credit card or a bank account in your name or online account. So those are, again, the most common consequences of worst-case scenarios of those data breaches.
And Lorenzo, we've all been following this again as it unfolded over the weekend. I'm wondering what your thoughts are as a professional in this area of how London Drugs dealt with it when it comes to the after the attack and how they've been dealing with it and getting communication out about exactly what happened.
So far, they've been following the incident management playbook pretty closely. They notified the public that something happened. They haven't talked about specifically which data have been leaked, if any, because most likely they don't know yet. And oftentimes those attacks can be quite complex, and when they get discovered, they may have been going on for quite a while. So even for professionals, it may be a while before the people that have been brought in to do forensics, they figure out what happened. So my guess is right now people are working on understanding exactly the extent of this attack. And once that is clear to the company will have further communication to the customers. I don't think they're doing things differently from any other company that have been breached recently. And I think being cautious with releasing information is the right thing to do. Also because releasing too much information too early could compromise the forensics itself.
It's a great conversation, important one, and we got to keep following on this one and thinking about our own personal safety as well. Thank you so much for your time, Lorenzo. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Lorenzo De Carli is an assistant professor at the University of Calgary.